Unsyndicated presents Off the Air with Baligian.
What is up? So glad you could join us. It is NFC AFC Championship weekend. I'm Baligian. So glad you could join us. Of course, my pal Blake here as well. Recently in the Lions Limo, I might add, and you can also find Blake on the Mitch Album Show on 760 WJR and Sport Chat. How does it feel being in the limo, Blake? I mean, are you enjoying it? Are you enjoying the limo?
This is a fun weekend, man. I'm just looking forward to the games this weekend. And yes, I'm excited for this game. It's weird. Like we talked about, I've had kind of some FOMO, fear of missing out. I've missed out on some of the fun this season, but we're in. So now we just got to ride it out.
You know, I probably have said this 10,000 times in the course of my lifetime, but now I'm going to make it 10,001. I love championship weekend because it's all about the football.
Yes.
It is a celebration of football. Okay. And this one's different. Of course, we'll get to that in a little bit, but there's no bells and whistles. There's no talking about the commercials. There's no talking about, who's performing at the Super Bowl, because I'm not going to lie to you, Blake. I've never watched one of those halftime shows. If I've watched a couple
You're too busy
minutes,
smoking
on
meat
accident.
during halftime.
I'm sorry. Listen, even the Super Bowls that I've been to, it's not like I've gone and, hey, man, I want to go watch the show. No, it's like, let everybody else stay out there. I'll stay back where the food is, and that's kind of the routine at the home. But championship weekend is all about the football. It's just hours straight, and really it's the last weekend that we have where it's all about the football.
Yeah.
This one is obviously different. I'm so used to watching other teams, and I'm the type of person, like I have to not – quote unquote pick a team, but have like some kind of rooting interest when each championship weekend comes along. And of course, our team is never there. This is so weird. I've got a rooting interest. I don't care about the other game. I don't care about Baltimore and Kansas City. I really don't. Usually it's just like, well, I kind of hope this team wins and I kind of hope that team wins. It's not like that. It's all about the Lions right now. And I think I can speak for you, Blake, and everybody else out there, and we'll get to your comments in just a second. It's a really weird feeling, but one that I hope we get to experience quite a few times in the next 2 years.
It's all about that window. Like you've told me, I can't even count how many times we've talked about the window, but it's all about the window. And the window seems wide open with this team. I mean, what did they have? 4 rookies? 3 rookies made the all-pro rookie team. And Branch, you can argue either way, got snubbed.
Yep.
But, I mean, you got 4 guys that are young in the beginning of their contracts that are going to contribute for the next 4 or 5 years for sure. And
you know what we got to do? We got to get you some Lion gear, too. We got to. Now that you're in, if you're – listen – your father-in-law, is he listening? Maybe you can hook up the young man with some Lion gear. Can we do that?
Are we in the trust tree?
Yes.
To be honest.
No, it's not like anybody's listening anyway. But
I don't like the Honolulu blue. That's the only issue I have. I don't. It's like I don't like the shade of blue. I feel like it doesn't fit me well.
See, the Lion Black, I never, ever liked the Lion Black. And I think part of it was it reminds me of the Decade of Despair. I think of Mike Williams. I think of Matt Millen. I think
Charles
of
Rogers.
right. When those black jerseys, it's like I start doing this a little bit. So that's the way it goes. Mike, good morning, boys. Nick said, "What are we going to do with ourselves if they win? I'll be walking around like a zombie, stunned." We're allowed to think about it now. For all those years, I always envisioned what's it going to be like where everybody's talking about the Lions. We've had a week where, let's face it, everybody's talking about the Lions. Nathan, I already don't know what to do with my hands. Nick said, having flashbacks of DMAC in 97 talking to the media after they got over the hump. Shove 1955 up your, I'm sick of hearing about 1957. Go Lions. Todd, do you like the throwbacks? Blake, Todd asked the question, do you like the throwbacks?
Yeah, the throwbacks are okay. It's not the like, I actually like their uniforms besides the helmet, whatever, the Honolulu blue helmet, because that whole uniform is atrocious. It's very candy ass. Not a fan. But their uniforms overall isn't the issue. It's like, I don't know, it's the shade of blue. I feel like clothing wise, I don't like it. Yes.
All right. I'm going to say something unpopular, but at the same time, I also understand it. I don't like the blueberries. I don't like the blueberries. Now, you have to go with the blueberries when presented the opportunity, and they can't, this week, obviously, but I'm a big fan of the white jersey blue pant combination. I am. I've always been a big fan of that. And yes, it reminds me of yesteryear. I think there's part of that. The throwbacks are great. That's a fantastic jersey, no doubt. But I've always been a fan of the white jersey, blue pants. I think it really works there. The blueberry, I don't like it, but they had so much success wearing the blueberry. Listen, that's where superstitions kick in, man. You got to roll with the blueberry when given the opportunity. I agree with it.
You don't like those gray uniforms either, do you?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm just making sure we're on the same page there.
No.
What about the helmet? Do you like the helmet? Like, if they wore the helmet with the blueberries, if they went like color rush, would that be okay?
Mm-mm.
No?
I don't like it. No.
Okay.
No. I mean, whatever. It's one of those things. We know what they're going to be rolling with this week, and like everybody else. Of course, I wish it was the blueberry.
KC Baltimore is like a very underrated, great uniform matchup.
I agree. I've always liked KC's. I've always liked KC's unis. Always. I've always liked their unis. I mean, that little bit of yellow in there. I've always liked their unis. Jason said white jerseys are sharp. You can get married in them, buried in them. I like the white jersey. I do. Nathan said, I've lived in Denver for 15 years now. My wife, who I've been with for 14 years, is from here. Early in our relationship, she couldn't help joining my enthusiasm for the Lions. After 8 years or so, she got lionized and hasn't watched a game with me since. She's finally back, though. Promised to watch the game with me on Sunday. Mike's watching the show during lunch as well. This is like a Lions lunch. I mean, let's face it. Yes, we're going to talk about Baltimore and KC. That's an epic matchup, no doubt about it. Another opportunity for Lamar Jackson to end that narrative. For some people, Blake, even last week didn't end the narrative. When he fired it up in the second half, as well as I do, Lamar's going Lamar, et cetera, et cetera. An opportunity certainly exists right now to do that. Nick, we were all lionized at one point. Truer words have never been spoken. I don't care who you are. You could be the biggest fan in the world of this team, okay? And you know what I mean by that. The complete and utter slappy who doesn't think that Cam Sutton's an issue. You know the drill, okay? At some point in time during our lifetimes, we've all had to go like this and put our hands up. Now, again, I'm not saying that you just stop being a fan. Okay. I mean, some people did. If you're one of them, whatever. I'm not here to chastise you. We're all enjoying this now. Okay. I give you a pass. If you're one of those guys that proclaimed, I went lion free, or like Blake, I wasn't in. You get a pass. I get it. This franchise has done too much to too many people, okay? But for the rest of us, even though we didn't quit the Lions, you can't, with a clear conscience, tell me that at some point in time you didn't have, to use the term that I always would use, a cider mill moment, okay? Where during the course of a game, you couldn't believe what you were watching. They were getting blown out. There was, a Dan Orlovsky moment, and you just said, I can't do this today. I can't do this today. It's going to put me in a bad mood. You know what? It's time. I'm going to go rake the leaves. I'm going to go to the cider mill, whatever the case may be. 100% fact there from Nick. We were all lionized at some point in time. Some guys left and never came back. Other guys left and they came back to the bosom, like Blake. Blake, hi, Blake. You're back. You're in the limo now.
Well, actually, this is my first foray.
Really?
You got to. I was never a Lions fan. They always stunk my whole life.
Dude, we told the story the other day, but you're totally reminding me of when my son was younger, and like all the kids, 29 miles away from Ford Field, all the kids out here in Northville were running around in their New England Patriots gear. We're running around in their New York Giants gear. We're running around in the Dallas Cowboys gear. It was amazing. I mean, the Lions were such a hard watch for your generation. And that's why I say it all the time. I tweeted it out the other day. Like, my generation, we've seen things, okay? We've seen things. But we've also seen, granted they're few and far between, some good moments, a bunch of playoff, performances, 82, 83 with Monty Prang, 91, 93, 94, 95, go on, so on and so forth. Your generation, kids like you guys didn't see that stuff. You saw a hammering in New Orleans. You saw the robbery in Dallas, and you saw the misery and the fall apart of 2016. So, like, honestly, whether we wanted to admit it or not, your generation is the one that's really been pounded, because at least I can sit back and go, oh, 91 was fun. Winning the division in 93 was fun. It sucked what happened just a week later. Even those games, 97 and 99, just getting into the playoffs, knowing that you had a chance. That was a pipe dream for your generation.
You've had like a roller coaster, and there's been ups and downs. The roller coaster during my lifetime of Lions, there was like 2 peaks, and they weren't even really peaks. They were wild card weekends, and that's it.
Yeah. So it's amazing.
By the way,
Andy said throwback should evolve into what Barry or Billy Sims wore instead of the blank silver. Let me go back to that one. Excuse me for a second. I gotta scroll up a little bit to see that. The current throwbacks are too reminiscent of the empty last 30 years. See, Andy, I'm feeling you, man. I'm sorry. I love that 91 look. Those 91 jerseys, that white jersey and the blue pants, I just think that's such a classic look. I think our boy Lowe agrees with that as well. Lomas Brown. Chuck said, is this a weird take? It's hard for me to enjoy. They were bad for so long that empathy kicked in years ago. I root for them, but emotionally, I'm not feeling it. I can't tell you how to feel. The one thing that I've had trouble with all week, and I don't know if you guys feel the same, is obviously if they win, there's going to be mass hysteria and euphoria and all that stuff. What am I going to feel like if they lose? I don't know the answer to that, because part of me is going to sit back and go, this was a great run. This was strike that. I'm going to go all Matt Shepard on you. Shep, one of my favorite quotes, Shep dropped it, is we use the word great too much. This was a very good season. This is just the beginning. Like, relax. Our time is coming. Okay. On one hand, Blake. And then on the other hand, because this is the way I was brought up. Okay, as a Lion fan, there is that little part of you in every one of us that says, "Is this it?
Okay, but
Is this as good as it's going to get?" I'm sorry, I was raised that way. That's what I grew up with, Blake.
with the this is the best season the Lions have ever had in like the modern era.
No, absolutely.
So it is great. You can use great in this circumstance.
Comparing
This
it
is
to the
the
Lions,
best.
okay.
Yes.
Yes.
You got to use context. Yes. Do we overuse the word great? Yes. But in this context, this is a great season, no matter what.
Auger said, I was Lions free. Sorry, I couldn't handle the losing and the Fords. Last year, mid-year, I started watching, and this year jumped on the bandwagon. Call me a bandwagon fan, but hey, I'm not going to be the guy that does it. Sorry.
Bandwagon fans are the smartest fans in sports.
I'm not going to be the guy that does it.
Good for you. That's smart.
Yeah, I'm not it's not going to be me.
Todd's
Melissa,
being mean to me in the chat.
Who is?
Todd.
What did Todd say?
They used scarlet and black uniforms, and that's mean, Todd. That's mean.
Melissa said Blake was born in 1993. They've never been good mother. In his lifetime.
This is my mother.
Hi, Mom. You know what? I use my son as an example all the time. To your point, Mom, my son was born in 1999. Okay. He has seen utter garbage. I made the joke. You might remember this back in the day when he was like 4 or 5 years old. Blake, we always used to do this bit on the radio as he was becoming a, budding fan. I would always say, as a parent, you want to do what's best for your child, right? There's no parent out there that doesn't want to do what's best for their child. And using that as my basis, would it be best for my son to introduce him to the Lions? Like seriously. Like, I remember taking him to games, and he's all fired up at Ford Field, and, he's asking me, all these questions. Daddy, what do you think about our coach, Mariucci?
That might have been child abuse, actually.
Right? So, I mean, that's what I say all the time. Like, my generation, we love to act like we've been the put-upon generation, and, we've seen things, and you whippersnappers haven't seen anything. And I always come back with, you're right. They haven't seen anything. I mean, their introduction to the Lions for guys like Blake and guys like my son Jack was welcome to the Millen era, right? That was their introduction. It's disgusting when you think about it. Todd said, I think the roller coaster was closed for repairs during most of Blake's childhood.
It really was.
Kirk said, it was a great season. You build off it, win or lose. For me, I'm going to say it again. I have to try my best to not hold the current Lions to the sins of Lions past. Okay? And that is a lot easier said than done. And that's why I've understood people like Auger or a lot of my friends that I saw your Facebook posts all year. I never commented because I get it. And I hope you know I'm not calling you out right now because really, I get it. I totally get it. But this is where I'm going to use the same line that I use all the time. Listen, franchises change. You hire the right people. They bring in the right people. They continue to bring in right people. Franchises change. Blake, even in your young lifetime, being born in 1993, think about how many bad franchises there were that got it turned around, that became, near the creme de la creme in each of their whatever sport it is. And that's the way that I look at the Lions. They were waiting for a guy to come in here that had a vision, that was willing to look 2 years down the line. Because the last thing you can say to a Detroit Lion fan is patience. I didn't want to hear it. I don't want to hear patience.
Yeah.
I didn't want to hear it.
So, and isn't it weird that we're in a spot where people are praising Lions ownership. Like,
amazing, isn't it?
Like Sheila's getting a lot of praise, and it's well deserved because she's let Dan and everything happen, and she's kind of stayed out of it and just let them do their thing. And so she deserves praise because that's, I think, the right way to run an organization.
100%.
It's just very weird because growing up, it's like, oh, the Fords got to sell the team. They have to. They're never going to win unless the Fords sell the team. And now it's like, oh, they're getting praise. It's such a flip around.
Blake, if I had a nickel, not even a dime, a nickel for the amount of times that I was doing a post-game show on the radio, whether it be at the Fan or at WJR, and somebody said the one constant, the Ford family, the Fords need to sell. If I had a nickel for every time that came up, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. I'd be sitting on a beach somewhere sucking a margarita. I mean, honestly, you heard it so many times. And my comment to people was, that's not going to happen. They're also a business family, and the Detroit Lions are good business. Yep. And I never was one of those guys, honestly. I would never tell you you should or should not go. You should boo. You should not boo. I was never one of those guys that said, because, oftentimes people would say, well, if people stop going. Well, I couldn't say that to you. You know why I couldn't say that to you? I'd be a massive hypocrite. I loved going, especially when my son was young. I loved that Sunday. There was always a Sunday during the year, and one year on Thanksgiving Day, where I said, all right, I'm just going to do the pregame show on television, and then I'm just going to go be dad the rest of the day. My son and I are going to the game, and we're just going to enjoy the game today and have that experience and everything. So I was never one of those guys that said, don't go to the game, boycott the game, et cetera, et cetera. I'd be a hypocrite. I used to love going to games. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't like going to games anymore. Blake, you and I went to the Monday night game. Tip of the cap to our buddy Lomas Brown. I'm not going to put words in your mouth. I'll speak for me. I loved my company. I was miserable at the game. I was absolutely, I wanted to be on the couch. I wanted to be watching the game, from the comfort of my own home. And that's just the way I've gotten as I've gotten older.
Let's put it this way. When we were walking in, I said to you, we're leaving at halftime, right? We watched Lomas get inducted. And I initiated the let's go. That was my first NFL game I've ever been to. And I was done. Story. I was like, we're out of here. Let's go.
True story.
I was home by the fourth quarter.
Yes, absolutely. Todd said Tampa tampons with the creamsicle jerseys rebrand and boom Super Bowl. That's another example. I mean, what a woebegone franchise the Tampa
Tom Brady,
Buccaneers
though.
were.
Tom Brady.
Well, even before Tom Brady, as you recall, I mean, they did win a Super Bowl, but so, I mean, that's what you were a youngin' at the time. But I mean, that was a woebegone franchise. I mean, they really were.
All right, hang on. We have to lock in though on previewing this game because we're on a time crunch today, of course. And so how are you feeling about this game? How are you feeling about Detroit, San Francisco? I'd be lying if I said that I didn't think San Francisco would win. I would be lying if I came on here and played the role of, happy Lion fan and shiny happy people holding hands. It would be disingenuous, and I would be lying to each and every one of you. I do think San Francisco is going to win this game for a myriad of reasons that we will talk about. However, I do not in any way, shape, or form think that the Lions have no chance in this game. Like, I'm not joking when I say this, Blake. I'm not trying to pander to anybody. My jaw wouldn't drop if the Lions won this game. I wouldn't play the, I can't believe it. Oh, my gosh, I'm stunned or anything like that. I think San Francisco finds a way to win the game. I think people are forgetting that's a pretty darn good defense.
As we talked about a few days ago, Debo being out would be absolutely huge. What the number one receiver continues to do to the Lions each and every week is frightening. I know we touched on that last week before Mike Evans, and then Mike Evans did Mike Evans things.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we also talked about Ayuk, and I think he's probably the most underrated player in the National Football League.
100%.
I'm terrified that this is his official coming out party. I am. I'm terrified that for the average fan out there that maybe doesn't realize how good Brandon Ayuk is, I'm terrified that they find out this week. So with that being said, I've been going back and forth like all week long. I got 27-24 Niners. That's the way I'm leaning.
That's a line covered.
And pray I'm wrong.
The Lions would cover that then. The spread's 7.5, which is insane.
Yeah,
that's such a big number.
It is.
The other matchup I'm excited to watch, though, is the San Fran linebackers against Gibbs and Laporta. Like, because their linebackers, man, are so fast and so athletic.
Yep.
And obviously those two guys are very athletic. I think Gibbs is already, like, one of the best running backs, like, in the NFL. Like, the things that they can do with that guy are insane. Their coverage linebackers are so good. That's
why we did not talk about this ahead of time. So, we're not, I don't believe in that. Like, have real chat and things like that.
Yeah.
To each your own. We did not talk about that ahead of time. It's funny that you and I are on the same page like that. Their defense worries me a lot. A lot, especially as you mentioned, the speed of that defense. And let's face it, we all have to give Jared Goff a round of applause, okay? But I think as well as I do when he gets pressure on him, and this is a different kind of defense that I think is going to present a different kind of problem on him. That's when you start to see the happy feet happening, or the shove of the football against the Rams, et cetera, et cetera. So Nathan said, you can lie to us. Listen, San Francisco's beatable. I'm not sitting here. This isn't the 85 Bears or anything like that, right? It isn't. But I'm going to say it again. Look, I like Frisco at home. I think, another betting angle for you, Blake, is the team that plays indoors, playing outdoors in an NFC Championship. The last time that the team that plays indoors, even though there was a hole in the stadium, the last time that road team went on the road and won was 1993, when the Cowboys went into San Francisco and knocked off the San Francisco 49ers. So could history repeat itself, 31 years later? Absolutely. This is a winnable game. I honestly 100% believe that. For the Lions, though, you better have max protection, because I think San Francisco brings different things to the table. You have to make sure that Jared Goff is taken care of. And how about, what's the best word I could say it? Limit him, because he's going to get his. Just don't let him go off for the $175 and a couple scores or something like that.
Well, and it's also controlling McCaffrey.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the Lions' run defense has obviously, like, vastly improved since last year. But, I mean, Christian McCaffrey is the best running back in the NFL.
No, it's not even close.
And if Trent Williams is healthy and that offensive line gets rolling and they start controlling the ball, then that's when we see maybe Jared Goff do some Jared Goff things. Yeah.
Well, and the flip side to that is, and I know you don't want to talk about it because you have a man crush on him. The flip side to that, it is exactly what Evil Genius just said. If the O-line allows Goff to set a tone and Hutch gets his hands on Purdy twice in the first quarter, the Lions have a solid chance to win. Like him or not, he can go shaky at a minute's notice. And when he goes shaky, he doesn't come back from shaky. He doesn't. We talked about it a few days ago. I love a quarterback that has no memory. Like just no memory. Yep, I made a mistake. Great. Brett Favre had no memory. College football, Connor Cook had no memory. I mean, it was just, Connor Cook would do some of the dumbest things, and you'd be going there like this, and then he came out, and the next drive,
he didn't even remember who Archie Griffin was.
Exactly. That's kind of Connor Cook. But when you look at a guy like Brock Purdy, I mean, honest to goodness, this is a situation where he's shown this in real time on a national stage multiple times, whether it be the Packer game, the Niner game was just, the Ravens game was just flat out ugly. I mean, where everything fell apart with that football team. So I tend to agree with you. That's the flip side to that. While we say those things about Goff, and I think that we're all mature enough to say both things can be true. Yes, Jared Goff has been measurably better than any of us thought, okay? Yes, we still have Jared Goff moments, especially when the protection isn't there. Both things can be true, and that's not exactly dogging the guy. I think the same thing can be said for Brock Purdy. I really do. As much as you love him.
I do. There's just something about him. I don't know.
Is he dreamy?
He's cute. I wouldn't say he's dreamy. Joe Burrow's dreamy.
I used to do that with Trent Green all the time. Dreamy. I don't know what it was about him. He just kind of had that rugged. I just got done chopping some wood. Yeah. I just got done chopping some wood in the forest, and it worked out well. Nathan said, if the Lions are going to lose, would you rather have it be over early or come down to the end? That is a great question.
Over early. 100%.
Really?
Yeah. If you're going to lose, just get it done with.
I don't want to see them get blown out. Please don't get blown out. Please don't get blown out.
Okay. Because what do you consider a blowout? Like 14 plus? So
anything over 17. 17 and over.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, if they lost by 10, but it was like San Fran was just in control the entire way, and the Lions just couldn't score, couldn't get in the red zone, that's over early, and that's not getting blown out.
My buddy Jim, this podcast is going to make my work days a tad less productive. Jim, appreciate that as always, my friend. We're normally not going to do morning ones. We're going to kind of concentrate on doing it at night. But this morning, we had to do a special edition today. Well, quite frankly, both he and I are busy later in the day.
Yes.
This is one of those days for me. No, my biggest fear, and I know a lot of people have commented, like, SOL is dead. It's over. I'm sorry. It's done.
Unless you're Dave Rieger, yes. Yes.
It is. It's over. Okay? But with that being said, you know as well as I do, if they have an NFC Championship game like they did against the Redskins back in 1992, where I know everybody looks at the final score, that game was tight into the third quarter, and then the Redskins just pulled away. If they have that type of game and they get a late interception, they get a late Christian McCaffrey touchdown run, and it bumps it up to, say, final score 38-17, you know as well as I do they're all going to come out of the woodwork. Every one of them. You people had faith in the Lions. Ha, ha, ha.
No,
when are you going to learn? You don't have a leg to stand on.
Yeah.
You know it. Deep down inside, you know it now. Even the most ardent SOL guy, you know that's gone. Because they won a division. They won 2 playoff games, okay? But that's not going to stop people from saying it, Blake. And I don't want to deal with that.
That's because people are stupid and they're mean. Like, same old Lions would never get to this point. Mm-hmm. So you can't say same old Lions at a point that they've never been to before. So
no, you're not. No, you can't do it. 2 playoff wins in a week, man. All we did for years is talk about 1 playoff win. They won 100%. 2 in a week span. Come on now,
100%.
Jeez, oh, Pete. All right, listen, I know we don't have much time, pal. We haven't even touched on the AFC yet. Does Kansas City have a chance in this game? Well, of course they have a chance.
Yeah.
But do you think Kansas City does it and Mahomes is back in yet another Super Bowl?
Yes, I do. I really do.
Do you really?
Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback in this generation, and he'll find a way.
It's not even close.
He's just final. Like he is it. There's just something about him, and I root for greatness and I root for special players. He's great and he's a special player.
You know what? I'm going to disagree with you in part. I agree with everything you said about Patrick Mahomes. I think this is a special season for the Baltimore Ravens. They've had special written all over them all year long. And when the moment has called for it, whether it be what they did to the Lions, whether it be what they did to San Francisco, I've just seen them hit a different level. And I think Lamar Jackson is a guy that has heard all the chirping. And I think Lamar Jackson is a guy that's going to be ready to answer the bell. I think both games are going to be epic, instant classic type of games. I really do. 34-31 Ravens, 35-31, 38-35, something like that. I think what Buffalo couldn't do, and that's becoming a common theme if we're being honest, what Buffalo couldn't do, I think Baltimore can do with Lamar Jackson. And I think it's going to be a tight one. What's your pick, though? Mike asked early on in the show. For people that don't know, Blake is – Mom, plug your ears for a second. Mom, are you still watching? Mrs. Blake, plug your ears. Your ears plugged? Good. Blake is a degenerate gambler. So, Blake, what do you like for both these games?
I do like the Lions plus the 7.5. I just think it's too big of a number. And more times than not, we see championship games come down to a field goal. And I like KC plus the 3.5. So I like both of the dogs, which never works.
Yeah.
So I'll get one of those two wrong. I like the under in the Lions game. It's 51.5. And I could see that if, both teams, if they start to get a lead, kind of run the ball, sit on it, especially the Lions. If they go up early in the game and they want to control the ball and keep it out of Brock Purdy's hands, I really think I could see game flow going that way.
David said Jared Goff is the best quarterback in Lions history. Name a quarterback that performs under pressure like him. Listen, as far as getting it done in the right moment goes, you can't argue with Jared Goff. Nobody else has been able to do it. I got nothing. Eric Kramer, and I think we've talked to Eric Kramer. Eric Kramer was a game manager oftentimes. When he had to make the big pass, he made the big pass, but he was like a game manager. He didn't put up wild, bombastic numbers and everything. He just fit with that offense. Jared Goff is making this go. And I'm going to tell you again, guys, 2 years ago, forget about when the trade happened. 2 years ago, if I thought those words would come out of my mouth, I would have called you crazy. He's been damn good. You got to give credit where credit is due, man. That's the way that it goes. Mike said, great show. I'll listen to the rest after work. Go Lions. Eminem versus Taylor Swift. I'll take M in that. So what's your Super Bowl pick? I'm putting you on the hook right now.
KC. I think that
KC
they're going
to win it all.
Yeah, I think if KC goes, I'm not betting against Patrick. I just can't bring myself to bet against Patrick Mahomes. I can't do it.
I get it.
Also, there was one other thing with picks that I just wanted to throw out for the people.
Oh boy. I have a feeling there's something nerdy we should have a nerd
It's
alert
kind of nerdy, but I think it works. So if you're putting together like one of those same game parlay type things, you take the Lions against the spread plus the 7.5, and you got to add some other things. Jahmyr Gibbs over 3.5 receptions. I love that. I think he could easily get 4, 5, 6 catches in this game.
See, you know what? We got to get hooked up with somebody like PointsBet or something, and like Blake. I'm just going to let you go for like 5 minutes. You and Mike. I'm gonna sit back like this and just kind of sit in the throne room and just let you two get all nerdy. Nick, I hate to say it, I agree with you. San Francisco and Baltimore winning with both Harbaughs there. I hate to say it, man. I hope I'm wrong. You guys can all yell at me and say I wasn't a believer or anything like that, but I want to go on the record. I won't be shocked if the Detroit Lions win this game. That, in 92, in January of 92, I think we all would have been shocked, those of us that are old enough to remember, if the Lions beat that great Washington team. I'm not going to be shocked if the Lions win this game. I'm just not.
If they do, though, you obviously want Kansas City, right? I mean, not like we know what happened against Baltimore.
Yeah, I think so. I just think Baltimore's that good that, across the board. I just do. I just think everything works for that good. But, I think the fear of Mahomes will pop back out. You were over at my house that night, opening night, right? You came over that night, didn't you? Yeah, we had a great little get together, fun game. It was, jumping all around. My dog howling. Remember that? When we were all yelling and screaming, my dog started howling in the background. It was something I wish we had it on videotape. But listen, we got to get out of here, though. We both have a busy day. Thanks for joining us. If you're checking it out later, check us out again. I will probably be on Sunday night. I'll just leave it at that. I will probably be on Sunday night, win or lose. Blake, I know you're going to be busy Sunday night. Good luck with that. But yes, Blake,
I might jump on for you for a couple minutes just so that
I'd love that. Yes, absolutely. In the meantime, go Lions. I mean, take this in. This is something that we've all been waiting for. This is something that I have tried to envision in my head so many times over the last 30 years, and I've never, ever been able to do it. The Lions are relevant. The Lions are a national story. The Lions have a chance. They are 120 minutes away from being Super Bowl champions. It's insane. Enjoy it. Watch the game. Have a blast. And we will talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Off the Air with Sean Baligian, featuring Sean Baligian and Blake Majchrzak. Produced by Todd Losey and Blake Majchrzak. Executive produced by Sean Baligian and Todd Losey. Theme song, incidental music, and related sound effects are from Play It Loud by Jam Studio. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Off the Air with Sean Baligian on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Got something to say to Sean? Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.